In this video, we'll study about the paired venous sinuses, the dural venous sinuses. So we have seen already the cavernous sinus. We'll see the other sinuses. First, we'll see the transverse sinus. Each transverse sinus is situated along the posterior attached margin of the tentorium cerebelli and lodges in this groove. So this is the groove extending from the internal occipital protuberance to the mastoid angle of the parietal bone. The right transverse sinus is usually larger than the left one, and generally the right sinus begins as a continuation of the superior sagittal sinus and the left sinus extends as a continuation of the straight sinus. At the mastoid angle of the parietal bone, each sinus becomes continuous as the sigmoid sinus. So it becomes continuous as sigmoid sinus. The superior petrosal sinus opens at the junction of the transverse and the sigmoid sinuses. So here the superior petrosal sinus opens. Each transverse sinus presents a gentle curve which is convex upward. Next we'll see the tributaries of the transverse sinus. So this is a picture. So here you can see this is the right transverse sinus and the left transverse sinus. The superior sagittal sinus ends at the confluence which becomes continuous with the right transverse sinus, and the straight sinus becomes continuous with the left transverse sinus. So here this is the termination. So the transverse sinus becomes continuous as the sigmoid sinus. So this is the sigmoid sinus. At the junction of the transverse sinus and the sigmoid sinus, the superior petrosal sinus opens. So we'll see what are the tributaries of the transverse sinus. So the first tributary is the superior petrosal sinus. The second one is the inferior cerebral vein which opens into the transverse sinus, and you have the inferior cerebellar veins also opens into the transverse sinus, and posterior temporal diploic vein. So the diploic vein which is situated posterior temporal diploic vein also opens into the transverse sinus. Then you have the inferior anastomotic vein which connects the transverse sinus with the superficial middle cerebral vein. So this is a picture to show. So this is the inferior anastomotic vein. So this inferior anastomotic vein connects the transverse sinus and the superficial middle cerebral vein. The next sinus we'll see is the sigmoid sinus. Each sigmoid sinus begins as a continuation of the transverse sinus which leaves the tentorium cerebelli at the mastoid angle of the parietal bone. The sigmoid sinus lodges in the S-shaped groove on the mastoid part of the temporal bone and leaves the skull through the posterior compartment of the jugular foramen, and where it turns downward and it is continuous with the superior bulb of the internal jugular vein. The sigmoid sinus is separated from the posterior wall of the mastoid antrum by a thin plate of bone and the mastoid air cells. The transverse sinus and the sigmoid sinus form together the lateral sinus. So this is the picture. Here you can see this is the sigmoid sinus, so which passes through the posterior compartment of the jugular foramen and ends as the superior bulb of the internal jugular vein. When you see the tributaries of the sigmoid sinus, first one is the mastoid emissary vein communicating with the posterior auricular vein. The second one is the condylar emissary vein connecting with the suboccipital venous plexus, and the third tributary is the cerebellar veins, and the fourth one is the labyrinthine veins. The applied anatomy related to the sigmoid sinus is the thrombosis of the sigmoid sinus may take place from the infected middle ear or mastoid antrum. The thrombosis may extend to the superior sagittal sinus along the transverse sinus, and this may result in impaired drainage of the cerebrospinal fluid and the development of the hydrocephalus. The next sinus we'll see is the superior petrosal sinus. The superior petrosal sinus convey the blood from the cavernous sinus to the transverse sinus, and each sinus lodges in the groove along the upper border of the petrosal part of the temporal bone, and it is situated in the lateral attached border of the tentorium cerebelli. Close to the apex of the petrous temporal bone, each sinus crosses above the trigeminal nerve at the mouth of the cavum trigeminale. The tributaries are the inferior cerebral vein, some cerebellar veins, and veins from the tympanic cavity. The next sinus we'll see is the inferior petrosal sinus. The inferior petrosal sinus drains the cavernous sinus into the superior bulb of the internal jugular vein and lodges in the groove along the articulation between the petrous part of the temporal bone and the basi occiput. Here you'll get the inferior petrosal sinus. It leaves the cranial cavity through the anterior compartment of the jugular foramen, and it is the first tributary of the internal jugular vein. The tributaries of the inferior petrosal sinus are the labyrinthine vein from the cochlear canaliculus and the aqueduct of the vestibule, and the veins from the medulla, pons, and the cerebellum. The thrombosis of the inferior petrosal sinus may occur from the infection of the middle and the internal ear, with the ipsilateral involvement of the trigeminal and the abducer nerve, that is known as the Great Negos syndrome. The next sinus we'll see is the sphenoparietal sinus. So this is the sphenoparietal sinus. They are situated along the undersurface of the posterior border of the lesser wing of the sphenoid bone, and this drains into the cavernous sinus. Each sinus receives occasionally the frontal trunk of the middle meningeal vein and also the anterior temporal diploic vein. The next sinus is the petrosquamous sinus. The petrosquamous sinus, when present, lodges along the petrosquamous fissure, and this drains into the transverse sinus. Anteriorly, each sinus communicates with the retromandibular vein through the postglenoid or squamosal foramen. The next sinus is the middle meningeal vein. So this is the middle meningeal vein which accompanies the middle meningeal artery. So these veins, better called sinuses, and these accompany the middle meningeal artery, consist of frontal trunk and the parietal trunk, the posterior and the anterior trunks. Both trunks communicate above with the superior sagittal sinus through the venous lacunae. The frontal trunk terminates into the pterygoid venous plexus through the foramen ovale or into the sphenoparietal sinus or into the cavernous sinus. The parietal trunk ends in the pterygoid venous plexus through the foramen spinosum. So in this picture you can see, so this is the middle meningeal vein which accompanies the middle meningeal artery. So this is the anterior trunk or the frontal trunk, and this is the posterior trunk or the parietal trunk, and both trunks communicates through the superior sagittal sinus through the venous lacunae. The middle meningeal veins are closer to the bone than the arteries. The grooves on the parietal bone are actually caused by the veins, which are more liable to be torn in the fracture of the skull.